it is the answer to your question. It is a trade-off. Insights that are coming from humans are very important. However, from an algorithmic trading standpoint, it is extremely difficult for one human to beat the algorithm, because the algorithm, as I said earlier, does much or is much better at data processing, filtration, acquiring the data, being able to access huge amounts of information at very rapid speeds. So a human against algorithm is like going to a gun battle with a knife. The human is not able to actually outcompete the algorithm. However, the algorithms that you are referring to are mainly those that fail, because even though they are trying to exhibit some form of intelligent behavior or business intelligence, as I said earlier, there is a very big difference between trying to exhibit intelligent behavior and adding an element of learning or deep learning or machine learning to the behavior that you're exhibiting. The systems that will thrive are those forward-thinking systems that actually learn from the past and are able to learn from the past in such a way to avoid these mistakes in the future. However, the reason why I find the question extremely interesting is that at SixCap, we still give a lot of value to the insights from the humans, because, I mean, the human, at the end of the day, we have millions of years of cognitive development and evolution that is backing our thinking process. So what we're doing is that we are harnessing the insights from these insight givers or these alpha traders, and we're actually learning from all the moves that they are doing in the market. We're looking at how many times the very good traders buy, how many times do they sell, how many times do they lose when they buy, how many times do they win when they sell, how much they stay in the market for. We map that against the market conditions that they thrive at, because one trader thrives at certain market conditions other than others, and we build a DNA map of each trader according to the market conditions that they perform well at. And then we've built an AI based on that learns from the behavior of the best best traders at the best market conditions. And on top of that, we have built a bot, an alpha bot, an intelligent algorithmic trading model that not only learns from the market conditions, but also learns from the behavior of the best traders at these best market conditions, and will mimic the behavior of these traders at these market conditions. So we are giving a lot of value to the insights of the human. We're not discarding the human element at all, because, as I said, it's quite valuable. And we have essentially built the world's first crowdsourced algorithmic trading model that actually outperforms most of the very good human traders, but still powered by the insights that are gathered from them. So the data from the traders is very valuable. At SixCap, we believe that data is a new asset class. It's the asset class for the future, and we're taking the data that is, or the behavior that is exhibited by the traders quite seriously. We rank them according to various categories, and we learn from the top performing traders. So we're beautifully, again, marrying the insights from the human traders with machine learning in order to produce algorithmic trading models that hopefully will not fail like the quantitative ones that are out there.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Yeah? Mr. Eddie, would you like to add a comment on this, please?
Thank you. I think it's also relevant to my field in financial markets. So I think nowadays we talk less and less about the gap and difference between the fundamental analysis and the technical analysis. So in the past, I think we saw the modern portfolio theory and capital asset pricing model during 50s and 60s. We saw quite segregation between the random walk proponents and the technical analysts. I think nowadays we don't see that big gap anymore, because now you have the conceptual models that come out every decade, and you have the big data analytics, big data that we could harness for the technical analysis. And like you said, we relied also much on intuition from the technical part. But again, we're seeing the combination, the integration between the fundamental and technical analysis. We might call it like enlightened intuition, because at the end of the day, human brain, human decision would be, I think, the final decision maker for everything. So I remember when I did my doctorate degree in the US, there was exactly the time when Lehman Brothers and other banks went down and bailed out. I think there were 900 banks being bailed out by the US government when I was there, and I saw that they didn't have any, actually no problem at all with the analysis, like all theories, all concepts were there. But I think the intuition went wild. This is something that I think becomes the very important aspect that we have to deal with in the future. We have big data, we have all the tools and techniques to analyze. But again, at the end of the day, intuition, this kind of intuition should be enlightened intuition. So we marry, we integrate, we don't see them as partial analysis of partial concepts anymore between the fundamental and technical part. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vaidi. Is there any other comments or? Yes, please.
I'd like to know more about the progress of using. Sorry, my name is Tae Un Soo from SoftSpace. I'd like to know more about the progress in using artificial intelligence in fighting economic crimes. Thank you.
Who would like to answer
Economic
the question?
crimes.
Economic crisis.
Oh, yeah. Economic crisis. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So just a disclaimer, I'm not a cybersecurity expert. However, one of the recent things that I've noticed on the use of artificial intelligence to fight certain economic crimes is creating fraud detection mechanisms that are able to detect fraud on a transactional level. The reason why I am quite familiar with this is that recently I've helped out on a Grant Thornton project that is using neural networks to actually detect anomalies in credit card transactions that might be exhibiting some form of fraudulent behavior. Meaning that the neural network, since a learning model, it's actually learning from your previous behavioral patterns in terms of spending. Where do you spend your money? On what do you spend your money online? What are the locations you spend your money on? And then once it detects that as an expenditure that is happening on your credit card that does not match certain criteria, or it would look a little bit odd, then it will actually either block it or flag it. However, it is a little bit intelligent because it takes it to a certain degree of creating a form of understanding before it actually blocks the transaction. Such as, for example, if my credit card today was suddenly used in Uruguay, and I haven't been in Uruguay at all for the past 5 years, then the system would block it. However, if the system has previously detected that I bought an airline ticket without even knowing where it bought it from, and then I have bought coffee at Heathrow Airport, for example, then it knows that there is a higher likelihood that you might have flown to Uruguay recently. Hence, before it actually blocks your card, it actually makes these checks. So it's adding a form of learning and also a form of data analysis before it blocks the card on a transaction level. However, that's where AI, as far as I know, is being used on that level. Big data analytics, on the other side, are actually now being used in relationship with the blockchain. One of the many promises of blockchain, which will highlight on my speech tomorrow, is actually, since we have an open and automated and a transparent ledger, whereby every single transaction of any physical or digital asset is actually registered and much in a very easy way traceable as well. We will be able to gather all of that data, trace it, and detect any form of anomalies on a transactional level, which will help in eliminating things such as money laundering, tax evasion, etc. So the promise of fighting economic crisis lies more within the realm of the promise and use of blockchain technology in general.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Professor Wihana, would you like to add something?
Okay. I'm wondering about the impact of digital economy using artificial technology by big data. How to know the impact? Because sometimes we know the productivity increase, like sharing economy, Airbnb, yeah? But it's not reflected on our gross domestic product. Today we have shaping the economy, the title of our conference. Do you have any idea how to measure the GDP also related to the productivity based on big data analysis reflected on our GDP increase? Because so far I can see sometimes like customer compete with customer because of artificial intelligence using big data. Yeah? Sometimes production compete to production. Sometimes customer increase the surplus of consumer, but create another producer decrease, yeah? Not producer surplus. So it's difficult to measure the impact of our gross domestic product. Do you have an idea, both of my foreign experts, how to calculate the impact of the GDP based on digital and data analysis? Thank you.
Yes, please.
Maybe just to add small thing, like again, the decision made by regulators could be more not only sophisticated but more accurate if based on the big data analysis and more consistent research. That right now honestly we are seeing as in particular the case in Indonesia where if OJK or BI desire to make an important decision, they will just like offer short-term research opportunities to researchers, research institutes, and universities. And we know that this kind of applied research that that's not done consistently through the consistent basic research will not create the same rigor or the same tedious approach that we have if we do it consistently. And at the heart of consistent and accurate research will be big data and also the tools and techniques to achieve that. I think that's my addition.
Yeah. Please.
I want to make a small addition. The role of algorithm and a human. In general, I believe that nowadays we still have to marry between machine and human intuition, because currently we are not in the stage of what people call singularity, where machine can outsmart the human. We were not there yet. And I also believe that algorithms still can make mistake. So for instance, one of the case is, if you remember, Google flu search. Google, based on the search volume in those server, try to predict where the flu will come, when, and on what big scale. I mean, they try to predict it based on the big data, based on search worldwide. But what happened is that their prediction is kind of over with the real flu incidents. Compare even to the gold standard statistic from health institution in US. So yeah, intuition and human, I think, still play a major role in big data, in AI. In fact, if we look and deep into the algorithm of machine learning AI, like neural networks, deep learning, actually the algorithm is trying to mimic how the brain works. So in neural network we have a node, we have a node similar to a nerve, and between the nodes there's connection, and the connection there's a weight. I mean, they try to mimic how human thinks, and so yeah, the machine try to imitate how human works, and that's called artificial intelligence. So to make the best of the both world, I think we have to combine either to run the algorithm or for detecting economic crime or crisis. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Widiawan. Yes, Mr. Kunan?
Yeah, I don't know how the brain works, but I like how artificial intelligence and big data is being applied for the good rather than sort of the usual, right? And so there was a question about the economic crisis, there was a question about algorithmic trading. On both those questions, there's some really positive impact on normal society. The first one is that financial advice is sort of really important in today's world, and a large portion of population, including in Indonesia, does not have access to financial advice. If you think about the traditional financial advisor model, they can serve maybe 20 customers a week. That model is not scalable in today's world, and so using artificial intelligence, big data to help ordinary people make better financial decisions for the future, I think that's a very positive development. The same about, and we couldn't hear if it was economic crisis or economic crime, but in terms of economic crisis, and I forgot the name, but in the Fortune magazine highlighted a very small analytical company out of New York, 8 people on staff, and they've been working with 2 investment banks, and they've been able to, through analytics, being able to cancel out counterparty risk. And liquidity in the economic crisis was not the cause of the economic crisis, but it was why the economic crisis was so deep. Ultimately, was that no one really understood how the big firms were connected at Wall Street, and who owned what, and how to get the money back. And so, being able to cancel out counterparty exposures by using analytics is a fantastic other application for it.
Thank you, Mr. Kunan. Any other comments? Yes, please. Questions? Yes, please.
I'm Faspi from Indonesia.
Yeah.
My question is, maybe you can share with us on how consumer goods company use the big data, and maybe you have examples of a certain company who benefited from this artificial intelligence.
Thank you. Let me start from Mr. Kaplan.
I mean, one or the first example that comes to mind when it comes to consumer good is one of the leading innovators on the use of AI and machine learning on consumer goods is a company I've just mentioned earlier, is Amazon, for example. Amazon has a very sophisticated AI engine that goes down to the level of not only looking at your behavioral patterns and things that you've purchased in the past in order to recommend things that you'd purchase in the future. However, it goes down another level, as I said, to look at what are the behavioral patterns of people who have exhibited similar behavior, such as your behavior, and purchased things that you have purchased in the past, in order to make recommendations that are custom made to you and the type of demographic that you represent, whether that's your gender, geographic location, or even just spending or purchasing behavior. It goes down to the level of looking at your current patterns and also understand the seasonalities within your purchasing patterns. So if you're someone that is more likely to buy on Black Friday, Christmas, and Easter, then it will target you much more during these periods, and so on and so forth. So Amazon is a company that is a leader when it comes to innovating through AI. And one of the reasons, and during Professor Gordon's speech earlier, Amazon was mentioned as one of the innovators in the cloud computing space. One of the reasons they went into the cloud computing space is actually to enhance their own AI capabilities, which is a very interesting way to actually beef up their own AI system. So that is an example.